Hello and welcome to this latest in our series of Right Book Company Author Talks. It's absolutely wonderful that you can join us today. I'm delighted to have a brilliant guest with me this morning. Her name is Dr. Rhona Morrison, and she is a retired Scottish forensic psychiatrist and author of the memoir, I Don't Talk to Dead Bodies. The Curious Encounters of a Forensic Psychiatrist. I'd like to now welcome Rhona to join me. Hello, Rhona.
Morning.
Lovely to see you. Rhona, yes, retired forensic psychiatrist. What an interesting life. Now, you are, for us, quite an unusual author, it has to be said. There's no doubt about it. We don't normally publish memoirs, but you and I, when we first met and you told me your story, we agreed that perhaps there was a very good reason for you to come to the Right Book Company and for us to embrace you into our list. I'd love to spend the next 20 minutes to half an hour chatting with you about why that might be, if that's okay.
Of course.
So, Rhona, you have written this incredible memoir. It's had some fantastic reviews. We were just chatting earlier and saying that you've done amazingly well with your book, in that you've got 207 fantastic Amazon reviews, which is extraordinary. And those aren't all your mates. They're a lot. Most of them you don't know, which is lovely. You've done masses and masses of work to push your book and promote your book out there. But perhaps we'll come to that a little later, I think. But before that, perhaps you could tell me a little bit, first of all, about why you wanted to write and publish your book.
Thank you. Initially, it was a legacy piece, as memoirs often start out that way, don't they? I was retiring from the NHS and I thought I'll capture some of the bizarre, scary, funny encounters I've had along the way for the kids. And then I thought, well, maybe I could do something a bit more meaningful if I could actually get the book out there. There's hopefully the stories hook the reader because they are a bit odd and funny, murderers and rapists and stalkers and all sorts. But the underlying message is about destigmatisation of mental illness. And I had the privilege of meeting the human beings behind the headlines in the newspapers and whatnot, and realising that very occasionally very rarely, mental illness makes good people do bad things. And my job was to find that tiny niche group of people and to treat them and rehabilitate them. And I thought if I could start to change mindsets by just introducing people to this notion that not everybody's bad and that actually we need to have a bit of compassion, then that would be a good thing. So it went from a kind of legacy memoir to more of a let's try and get the word out there about mental illness and spread the word and enhance people's knowledge. So that was where it came from. And then I had a chat with yourself. And then I don't know if you want me to talk about the next bit, but that was what happened. We had a chat and decided to take it further.
Indeed. And I mean, I just to kind of underline what you said just there and how much that moved and impressed me when I first met you, and how I think you have really achieved that. You've managed to achieve this, the telling of what could in a way be quite grim stories, the life you've had, the extraordinary work that you've done with some very dangerous and I suppose you might say, the traditional view of people in this position, the people that you were treating, were, mad and bad and all of those things, and had done very, very terrible things. And yet somehow you do humanize them by telling their story, and you make us, the reader, realize that it's not just about being bad people, that for whatever reason, like you say, that mental illness can cause good people to do bad things, but there are also that there is hope, that there is that there's less fear around that for us as a result of reading your stories. I think you have a wonderful, clear and very funny way of taking the edge off it for us. So tell me what you know. I mean, you came to retirement. You came to the point where you were no longer able to do this work, or you had chosen to move on and do something else. You decided to write it all down, to leave that legacy for the kids to start with, but then, as you say, on a bit of a mission, really, to help us all change our mindsets around people who had perhaps, you know, done some of these terrible things. What else was in your goals? Well, I know, you know, what else did you, when we first spoke, you know, you talked about wanting to go and speak about all these things. What have you done?
Well, I think the context to this is that psychiatrists could retire at 55 and full pension, so that was always the plan. And sadly, on my 55th birthday, when I was retiring from the NHS, my husband died of a brain tumour the same day. And so the future that I'd planned wasn't going to be. And I love traveling, absolutely love traveling. And we've cruised for 20 years. And I just thought, I'm going to keep doing this. I really like it. So when we spoke, Sue, you'll remember, you said, what do you want this book to do? Because most of the business books that you work with, people doing business books, normally it's to have a big credibility business card. The book is the business card to perhaps let you run workshops or lectures or that sort of thing, give your business credibility. I'm retired. I don't really have a business. I don't want to have, but so what I wanted to do was cruise. And I said, what about if I could do enrichment lecturing on cruise ships? Because that way I'd get to see the world, get a free cruise and spread the word about mental illness and hopefully entertain people in the process. Because as you say, it's quite funny and bizarre, the stories. So you said, well, that might be a business book, which is how my memoir ended up being on your list, which is unusual. What's happened since then is that my book came out in September last year. And I thought, I can't pursue this cruise line thing until I've sold a few books. So I was fortunate. I'd sold 300 odd pre-sales, and then it started to sell. It was doing quite well, and I promoted it quite heavily. But I thought, I'll wait till I come back from my holiday in February, and then maybe I've sold enough to feel a bit of credibility, and I'll pursue this. But I was in Antarctica on a cruise on holiday, in amongst the penguin poo and climbing, you know, icy glaciers and icebergs and stuff. And I fortuitously met one of the staff on the ship and told him what I was interested in doing. And he said, I know the person that books for Silver Sea Cruises, and put me in touch with him. And I got back from Antarctica, and about 2 weeks later, I was booked to go to Japan on a 5-star cruise to lecture. And so I did 2 weeks in Japan. And then more recently, I was over in Alaska and across the Pacific to Japan for 3 weeks on the same ship. So it kind of, my plan came to fruition. So my next goal is to try and get some more of these. But yeah, so that it was great. It was really good. And I started an art business when I retired as well. And I was running art workshops in the ship too, as a wee extra. So it was good fun. So yeah, so my book got me where I wanted to go.
That's absolutely amazing. And, you know, I mean, and obviously it didn't happen, you know, just like that. You pushed and you made it happen. And you know, I know that the work that you did, one of the things that was it's been totally unusual for us working with you, because it is a bit outside of what we normally do. And I'm so glad that we made the decision to work together, because it has been absolutely, you know, joyous. And we've probably learned as much about, you know, about popular, you know, best-selling books, and being slightly outside of that business area has been really good for us. But the other thing that I think that's funny, you just mentioned that you know, that you are also an artist. And I know that, you know, that was something that was something you loved right from school days, and something that you always kept as a hobby all your life. And now you do a lot of that as well, now that you've retired. And I know you've had a busy week this week with an open studio in your house showing your artwork, which is amazing. But actually, the other thing is that you even designed the cover of your book, or you did the illustration for the cover of your book. tell us about that. What led you to do that particular drawing for your book?
So I didn't know that I'd be allowed to, because I know that's not what you normally do. But I'd been working a lot with Bev, who was my editor from the Right Book Company, and so she knew that I was an artist. And so when we came to the handover of the manuscript to yourself and Paul, Bev said, "And what about the cover?" And I think Paul said, "We'll get the graphic designers working on it." And Bev said, "But Rhona's an artist; she could do her own." And I said, "Oh, I hadn't really thought of that." And I think everyone was a bit thrown and thinking, "Oh my goodness, what's she going to do?" But Paul very graciously said, "Why don't you send me some ideas and we'll see." So this was the one and only idea I sent. And I've never had a psychiatrist couch in my life, but I thought a psychiatrist couch probably had to be on it. It's not an academic book. It's not an in-depth book about serial killers. It's not all about, I mean, I'm a medical doctor, but a lot of medical books have white coats and stethoscopes and things like that. No, this is quite a funny, light-hearted book, although there's some really difficult stuff in it. And I thought it needs to be a cover that's kind of doesn't reflect a serious, scary thing, because it's not. And so I did the psychiatrist couch, and then I thought, well, it's about the criminal mind, I guess. So I drew a brain, but I made it into a little man with tackety boots and handcuffs, so it was a criminal mind. And it's done in pointillism, which is pictures made with individual dots of ink. And pointillism is one of the art methods I used, in my art business. So it was kind of drawing in my art. And also there are linked to the book, which is a bit of a long story, but my stethoscope, the flat bit of your stethoscope, I dismantled it as a junior doctor, and I drew a little onion man with tackety boots inside it. So when I was working with children as a junior doctor, I'd say, "Mr. Onion Man's come to help me today." And they'd look a bit bemused if they were scared. And then I'd say, "Look," and I'd show them this little picture, and then say, "Well, we'll let Mr. Onion Man listen to your chest, and then you can have a shot." So in the book, there's a mention of Mr. Onion Man. So it's kind of based on Mr. Onion Man, except it's a brain. So there is a bit of a link there. So that's a long answer to your question.
Wonderful. Absolutely brilliant.
But I feel I own it. It's my book and it's my cover. So it feels more authentic because it's a memoir, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. That's lovely. I've never got you to explain fully to me that cover. I'm delighted now. It all makes sense. That perfect sense. I love it. Absolutely love it, Rhona. So you've successfully become a cruise line speaker, as you wished. Tell us a little bit more about what the book is doing for you. What are you finding now? I mean, I know that you're really busy. You've had a particularly busy this week. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how the book has become a bit of a full-time role for you, alongside the drawings and the paintings, of course?
So this week was Scottish Book Week. So I went into a library and sort of said, "Are you interested in a meet the author event sort of thing?" But I didn't do it all myself, because in my business group for my art, I'm in a business breakfast group. So I said to them, "Could you all go and speak to your local libraries for me? And here's a summary of my book and me, etc." And got several library bookings as a result. So I had 4 events this week. One of them was on a barge with a crime fiction writer. So we called it Murder on the Barge, and it was he was the fiction and I was the factual bit, because I've seen hundreds of murderers in my career. So we did a sort of more of a conversational piece. The rest were all me, myself. But so this week's been good. But people will bite your hand off. I mean, I don't charge, but I sell books, so, and I'm getting the word out there. So I'm quite happy with that. But you get fortuitous things. I was speaking in a library prior to this last week, and 2 people came along just by chance, who were lecturers in the local college in criminology. So they invited me to speak to their students. I mean, the 25 students turned up, another 21 books gone, and they've now invited me to speak to the whole college. They're going to book the whole conference centre and invite the public as well. One of my friends who's read the book, he was Procurator Fiscal, the prosecution in Scotland, and he lectures in criminology at Abertay University. He put me in touch with his friend who had a meeting with the senior lecturer in criminology yesterday from Abertay. So I'm going to be talking to their students in the new year. So it's been a lot of fortuitous sort of things. So, and the librarians where I've spoken, they've said, "I'm going to tell my friends." So, I think it just kind of feeds off another. It's the same happened with when at the beginning I was doing radio shows and podcasts, that sort of thing. Again, through contacts in my business group, just sort of random shows. But one of them got me in touch with a journalist, and they did a double-page spread in the Scottish Mail on Sunday and photo shoot and everything. But on the day after, I got a phone call from BBC Radio Scotland and wanted to interview me live on radio. And that was right at the start, and ended up number 1 in the Amazon rankings for new releases right after that. So it shows you that promotion does work, because obviously people bought it, and people would come up to me in the street I didn't really know and say, "You were on the radio, I heard you." So I think just taking any opportunity, however small it might seem, but sometimes it just opens a door, and you don't know who's in the audience. So I've just taken that approach. I've not said no to anything, just gone for it, really.
I love that, Rhona. I think that's a really good philosophy to have as a recently published author. Don't say no to anything. You never know. I think books are amazing. You know, I like to think of them as being these kind of ambassadors that work on our behalf. But they only work well if you get behind them and you tell them what to do. You know, you've got to really give them a push, and you've been so good at this. You've been so good at, you know, at embracing every challenge, saying yes to everything. And that is really paying off. You know, there's a serendipity, because your book is going out into so many different rooms, and people the more that happens, it's like a snowball effect, isn't it? It's like, you know, the more your book is out there, the more people will talk about it, and the more people will want to know. So what's next, Rhona? What's next in the exciting life of the published author of I Don't Talk to Dead Bodies?
Well, I think the university thing, I've had quite a lot of comments saying that, you know, people I'm obviously a doctor, so medical students, but also nursing students, social workers, that sort of thing, in training should be reading this, because it's the softer side. It's about treating people as human beings in holistic care, and treating people with respect, and not being non-judgmental and that sort of thing. So there's quite a strong message, and a lot of people have come back saying people should be reading this when they're doing their training. So getting into the colleges and the universities, I think, is something which will be fun, but hopefully I can do more of. I think once you've done it once, you can then say to another university, "Oh, I've been lecturing on that course," you know, and then hopefully that opens doors. So I'd like to pursue that. But the cruise line lecturing, obviously I'm going to pursue that further, because I enjoy it for one, but I think you're getting audiences from, you know, people come up and talk to you from Belgium and Hong Kong and Australia and America, whatever, and these people are ordering the book and going away. So they tell people, and then, you know, again, people I've met in the cruises follow I've got a Facebook page which I started a year before I think my book came out, and it felt really weird having a Rhona Morrison author page when I wasn't yet an author, but I was told that was what you had to do and build your tribe. So I've kept it going. Twice a week I post, and actually, you know, the people I've met from America, you know, professors of law and various other people, follow my page, and so they click and comment, so their friends will see it, and what's that, you know. So I think it's just useful trying to get it out there, as I say. So yeah.
Keep having those conversations, absolutely, and all sorts of. I don't suppose I don't know. Had you really? I know you talked to me about the cruise lines. You know, about the cruises, that you really wanted to do that. But, you know, you never know what other opportunities there are, like these, you know, educational opportunities, and being able to, as you say, kind of bring perhaps the softer side, you know, in some ways to that more academic kind of, you know, approach to this is terrific. Another thing that I must admit, I think that you've done really, really brilliantly, and more people are doing this now, but I think it's Paul told me that in fact your audiobook sales are doing tremendously well as the print book sales. So, you know, tell us about that. What made you want to do the audiobook?
Well, that was fairly selfish, in that my mum's 92 and she can't see. And she would want to read my book and tell everyone about it. She keeps it in her house. She's got a signed copy. She got the first one.
Yes.
She can't read it, but she keeps it, and she shows it to her carers and her cleaners, and they buy it, and all. And she's always telling people. But I did the audiobook primarily really for mum, because I thought it's really important to her. And I thought she can listen to it, which she did, and she loved it. But yeah, it has gone incredibly well. I'm due to get the next 3 months data, I think, just shortly.
Any minute now, yeah.
I think last time Paul told me there'd been about 420 audiobooks sold. That was before the last 3 months data. So yeah, it's sold a lot more audiobooks than I anticipated. Because I'm not really an audiobook person, but it was good fun. And I think the comments people have said about that have been, to my, personally, I've said the fact that I'm reading it myself is really important because it comes across, more authentically. It was such good fun. I had to speak slowly, obviously, because I speak quite quickly. But I think, yeah, it was fun. And it was also a test for me because my book is quite conversational. I wanted it to be just like me telling the story to you just now. And when I went to read the audiobook out loud, I thought, when I went to record it, I thought, if this doesn't roll off my tongue, then I've not got it right. But it did roll off my tongue. It was just how I would tell it. So I was really quite pleased about that. So yeah, so that's been nice. So I would recommend it to other people.
Yeah, would you? I mean, I was going to say, I mean, do you have any particular tips for other authors that, given how well you've done and how well you continue to do and how you're achieving your goals and discovering that other doors are opening to you that you weren't expecting, what would you say would be your kind of number one top tip to other authors to create a success out of their book?
I think I've probably got 3 things. One was doing the tribe thing in advance, which felt so awkward and bizarre. But actually, there was a body of steam building up as I came up to publication. I had a launch, I had a press launch, and then I had a launch at night with 100 people in a theatre, and there was lots of people wanting to hear about it, and there was a lot of buzz, and that got people talking. So I think that was important. And it gave me momentum because I knew I'd committed to a date and I had to work it. The next thing absolutely was working with yourselves, and I'm not being paid to say this, but actually I was really important. I thought I'm going to probably just write one book, and it can either tarnish my reputation or enhance it. And you don't want to put something out where the grammar's wrong, it's not set well in the pages, it doesn't look professional, all that. And having had Bev as an editor and then Paul and all his team supporting me, and what came out was a good product, and that was really, really important to me. So I think however people decide to publish, I think having that team of people who are professionals in each area. One thing that amused me greatly was Andy, I think it's Andy, had my book for 2 weeks and he was checking it. I didn't really know what he was doing. I had no idea. I don't know this process, but they're doing something. And he came back, he said, there's virtually no changes, but on page whatever it was, could you change Glasgow to Scotland? And so I thought, what on earth? So I looked through, and I'd been talking about deep fried Mars bars, which is quite unusual. And they've been invented in Glasgow. And he said, no, I've researched it. They were actually invented in Stonehaven, so can we just change it to Scotland? And I thought, this man's been through my book and checked it. What a relief, because you don't know all that's going on in the background, just making sure that everything's right and you've not said anything wrong. So that amused me greatly. But the process I felt was very professional and supportive, so that was good. And I think the promotion, you've talked a lot about it. I've done a lot of promotion, and I think I enjoy it. I'm an extrovert, it's quite fun, but I think you really have to do it. People are not going to go onto Amazon or whatever and look for your book if they don't know it exists. So you have to get out there and tell people. I mean, I've shared this tip before with the authors, but I got my book put on my phone cover.
Yes, yeah.
I had that in a plastic wallet round my neck in Antarctica because I was using it as a camera. And I got stopped at the top of a icy mountain with the poles and everything and all their boots. And I get stopped by a professor from Puerto Rico who said, what's all this about dead bodies? Everyone else was taking pictures of birds and seals and penguins. He took a picture of me with my book. Hold it up, he said, hold it up. Oh yes, I'm going to tell my friend, he'll buy it, he's learning English. And it was just a talking point. And I think I think you have to be shameless about it and do it. So yeah, that's my tips, I think.
I love it. I love it. And when you say get out there and talk about it, are you talking kind of mostly, I mean, apart from being, on your wonderful holidays, on your amazing adventures, meeting professors from that that want to stop you and take pictures of your cover. Are you talking social media? Is that how when you built your tribe in the first place? Was that through social media mostly, Rhona?
Yes, I'm a technophobe. I mean, if I can do it, anyone can do it. So I had to get a Facebook page, and I've had to I do it twice a week. I think I don't like getting bombarded with too much stuff. Twice a week, except during book week where there was one every day. But normally it's just twice a week. And finding something vaguely book related to talk about, and yeah, it was mostly Facebook. But I do mention when I'm talking to people, I'll tell them I've written a book and what it's about and whatever. And in my business group, although I'm in my business group as an artist, there's no other authors, so I use it. I talk about my book quite a lot and encourage people to, Christmas is coming, stocking fillers, all that, just shameless.
And I love the idea of asking each of them to go into their local libraries. So you're doing great, because it is that whole thing of you don't have to do this alone. You can do most of it, and you can push it, and you can go and talk to people and shout from the rooftops. But actually, if you get people on board, you get that tribe involved right from the start to go and do some of this for you, then that way, having that amazing launch that I know, and sadly I couldn't get to, but Bev got to in Glasgow, your fantastic launch that you had with press and all of that stuff, you could build your way towards having 100 people in the room as you did, which is not easy, but you managed it. So congratulations.
It was great fun, but it was my son's friend has a sort of promotion company, so he had said, "I'm doing your launch," and I thought, "Oh, okay." So he had set up the press launch during the day, but at night was the actual big one. That was the sort of one in the theatre. Yeah. And he said, "I'll get someone to compare it," and it was an entertainment journalist, and she's sort of, her nickname is Showbiz Lyons. Her name's Bev Lyons, and. At the headset, the head mics and everything, and they wouldn't let me come out. She did this big intro, and she said, "I'm used to interviewing Bieber and Beyonce, but tonight it's, and oh dear." And I'm like, "Oh my God, no pressure." So it was funny, but yeah, it was good. But again, it got the buzz, people talking about it, So yeah, go big or go home, I think you have to say. So
I think that's brilliant, Rhona. What a lovely way to end up. I think the thing that comes over to me always is that in the past year since your book was published, yes, you've been a great success. Yes, you've hit those goals that you wanted, but you've had a lot of fun, and you're giving a lot of people a lot of fun in the journey on the way. So absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
But you caught me unawares, because you sent me an email saying, "Oh, by the way, a Taiwanese publisher is going to publish your book in Chinese."
Yes,
I had no idea. That was out there. Is there going to be a launch? Can I go to?
I don't know yet. I mean, we're waiting for them to sign the contract. They got the contract. We're waiting for them to sign. It's so exciting. But yes, hopefully, with any luck, it should be. It's on its way. Goodness knows when. But yes, your book in Chinese for a time. And so the book is going on its own adventures, and who knows what opportunities there might be there. So we will watch this space.
It had its birthday in Alaska. We had a party on the ship in Alaska for its birthday. Really? Yeah, and it came with me to Antarctica. So it's been at either end of the globe this year, so physically.
Excellent. Well, Rhona, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an adventure to hear your story, and we absolutely applaud you for all you're doing. And please, everyone, go and get your copy from either therightbookpress.com or, of course, any of your favorite retailers. Will be able to get a book. Order a book for you if you go into a bookshop, or of course you can get it online from any shop. No doubt there are now several bookshops in the Glasgow area where you can just purchase it off the shelf. I wouldn't be surprised with all that Rhona has done in her home city. But thank you so much again, Rhona. It's been absolute joy to chat to you. If anybody out there is thinking that they might quite like to go on a book adventure of their own and write a book that'll help them achieve their goals and have a lot of fun along the way, then please don't hesitate to get in touch. We offer free, absolutely free of charge, no obligation whatsoever, discovery calls. Spend half an hour with me to explore your book idea. And that is yes, on our website, writebookcompany.com, and just click on the link to book a discovery call. Okay, so that's it for now, folks. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody, and thank you again to Rhona.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, Rhona.
Bye.
Bye.